And they like us. It's not like, I mean, it's their job, but they keep coming back too. So do you all. You know how much it stokes me every Sunday morning to see people still showing up? It's like, wow, we got something cool going on here, eh? What do you think? So would you breathe with me, please? Taking a deep breath. And let it go. And another one. And release. And one more deep breath. And let it go. I like that too. Thank you so much. So as I posted on my Facebook page, I like Facebook. I'm on there somewhat a lot. And I posted about today's talk, and I said you'd have to be completely living off the grid to not know that the Winter Olympics are coming on, what were happening right now, right? Yeah. Especially here in Canada where winter sports are king. I was talking to Graham the other day, and he said, you know, for us in Canada, the Summer Olympics, we celebrate if somebody gets like a bronze medal. In the Winter Olympics, we're outraged if we get anything other than gold, you know? In fact, I was driving home the other day. It was so weird. It looked like the Calgary Fire was on fire. Calgary Tower was on fire, right? What the heck? And I asked somebody, and I guess they turn the flame at the top of the Calgary Tower on whenever a Canadian wins a gold medal. Yes. Yeah. Okay, I'm so glad I found that out because I had just that tiny little moment of panic, you know? Yeah. And of course, there's this additional pride of the fact that Calgary hosted the Olympics in 1988, and that they're vying to host the Olympics again. It's looking maybe in 2026, right? So that's all to say that the Olympics are part of Calgary and Canada's collective consciousness. Do you understand what I mean by that? Whether you watch them or not, the Olympics, particularly the Winter Olympics, it's part of the energy of this area, right? And I think that might be true for anyone who has been exposed to the fervor of the Olympics. When I was a little girl, we lived in Japan during the '64 Summer Games. Yes, I am that old. Do the math, it's okay. My parents went to several events. I can't remember which ones they were, but what I do remember was that the marathon runners turned around right in front of the military base where we lived. So everybody, we got out of school and everybody went to watch these marathon runners turn around. Well, I didn't even know what was going on, but everybody got caught up in the excitement of it. And that excitement has stayed with me. I mean, I think about the Olympics and I still get thrilled about it. Just like 30 years later. That same energy, that Olympic spirit is alive right here in Canada, right here in Calgary in particular. So you might be wondering why I chose to talk about this besides it's on my mind right now. You guys usually get what's on my mind, right? Yeah. If I'm thinking about it, you're going to hear about it. That's just the way it goes. However, there is something spiritual, there is something metaphysical about it that captures our imagination and our attention. Now, is it just because we get the opportunity to see human beings in peak physical form do seemingly impossible things? Maybe. Maybe it's the national pride that we have that our fellow countrymen are accomplishing. Or maybe it's just because we love sports and we're going to watch anything. If it's sport related, we're going to watch it. Or is it possible it's something less tangible, something less physical? Is it possible that we are, one of the reasons that it thrills us is that we are watching the embodiment of one of our basic spiritual truths. And that is that what we steadfastly put our focus on and our attention on becomes our experience. Let me share with you what Ernest Holmes said. He said, life flows into everything, through everything. It passes into every human event and translates itself through every human act. If you learn to think of life as flowing through your every action, you will soon discover that the things you give your attention to are quickened with a new energy, for you are breathing the very essence of being into them. Wow, right? A more modern way of putting that is energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes. So maybe what we respond to with the Olympics is this idea that these athletes are not only using their physical bodies, but they are also using their powerful, powerful minds to achieve success. Yes, they train, they practice, they do all that, and yet almost all of them will admit that they are training their minds every bit as much as they are training their bodies. In fact, there was an article in the Huffington Post from the 2014 Olympics, but it had really good information. And gold medalist Shannon Miller said this. She said, the mental aspect has to kick in, especially when you are talking about the best of the best. In the Olympic Games, everyone is talented. Everyone trains hard. Everyone does the work. What separates the gold medalist from the silver medalist is simply the mental game. Well, no wonder people like us are interested in that. We are drawn to a teaching called the science of mind. This is why we find this type of thing so compelling, because we understand, or we're starting to understand, just how powerful our minds are, just how powerful our thoughts are. We also are coming to understand that we are connected with the infinite mind, and we have access to it. And we are committing ourselves to using our thoughts in powerful, focused, directive, and positive ways most of the time. Yes? Yes. So no wonder these stories of triumph and mind over matter and focus and success appeal to us. This is our teaching made manifest. So this article in the Huffington Post was called Brain Training Secrets of Olympic Athletes. And in it there were 5 what they call mind hacks. When you talk about a hack in today's world, what you're talking about is a simplification. When something is a hack, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a hack. Something is happening. You understand what I'm saying? A hack is a simplification. Like, I wish I had a hack to repeat that sentence because it just didn't work. Okay, so there are 5 of these mind hacks in the article. And the first one is visualize the outcome you want. Now, this is Brain Training Secrets of Olympic Athletes. And the first one up is visualize the outcome that you want. This is one of the basic teachings, not only of us, but for every achievement course that you've ever taken, whether it's business or personal growth or spiritual, because we are taught to use the power of our minds to picture what it is that we want. This became super popular in the past 20 years or so with the use of vision boards and treasure maps. How many of you have a vision board or a treasure map? Look around the room. Really? Okay, we're going to have a vision board session here pretty soon. Most of us have our boards, our treasure maps, and they're posted someplace where we can see them. I have all kinds of stories, I'll tell you another time. But the idea of this, you know, the board to put the pictures of the things, how you want your life to look, and that type of thing, mostly the qualities that you want. The idea is to provide a visual image of the things that we would like to achieve or would like to acquire. And the reason that it is so effective is because those pictures go straight into your subconscious mind that doesn't question, your subconscious mind that doesn't say, oh no, that can't possibly be. Your subconscious mind, I call it the doer, I call it the provider. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between an imagined outcome and a real one. So when we provide it with a picture, whether it's visual or whether it's actually a physical picture, the subconscious mind goes to work doing what it does, which is to make the thing happen. For instance, I shared this a couple of weeks ago when we had our pick a page, because I had just seen the movie about Eddie the Eagle. You guys have heard of Eddie the Eagle, made famous in the Calgary Olympics, right? Now, Eddie the Eagle's real name is Michael Edwards. And although the movie really fictionalized a lot of it, because I read up on him afterwards, there was one thing that was absolutely clear, and that was Eddie the Eagle dreamed of being in the Olympics. And he had pictures of Olympians and different things all over the walls of his room when he was growing up. He lived and he breathed the idea that someday, he was going to compete in the Olympics even though he didn't have any particular talent or skill. And sure enough, through hard work, through effort, through lots of practice, through lots of heartache, through visualizing himself and believing in himself, he actually did compete in the Olympic Games in 1988. Oh. In our teaching, we call this process having a mental equivalent. Thomas Troward, that many of us are studying right now, calls it a spiritual prototype. Having the mental picture already in our minds that can then out-picture into our world of effect. In fact, Ernest Holmes put it this way: if we have a true conviction which is in line with the ultimate harmony, we can create an idea which must clothe itself in form equal to our mental equivalent of such an idea. Must clothe itself in form equal to the mental idea. Wow. Yes? Yeah. Now, Eddie the Eagle didn't win any medals, but he didn't see himself winning medals. He saw himself competing in the Olympics, and that is what he did against all odds. So the next brain train is meditate daily. Yeah? I kind of got a kick out of this, because if you think about how a lot of coaches used to be when it came to sports, it was like, hoorah, no pain, no gain. And now, athletes all over the world are becoming aware of the importance of slowing down, of going within, settling the monkey mind. They're being trained to do that. Now, there are lots of ways to meditate. There's not just one way. You can mantra, you can use a guided meditation, you can own, you can count your breaths, you can walk in meditation. It doesn't matter what kind of meditation you do. What matters is consistent practice in doing it. And it is a practice. Meditation is a practice. They don't say a meditation accomplishment. They call it meditation practice. By the way, those of you who don't regularly meditate or who would like a boost in your meditation, Reverend Monica is going to be teaching a meditation course at the end of March. So stay tuned for more information about that. The next tool of our brain training. Evict the obnoxious roommate in your head. Woo! You know who I'm talking about, right? That voice in your head that says, who do you think you are? That was stupid. You're not very good. You'll never amount to anything. None of you have that obnoxious roommate. She visits me sometimes. And many of those elite athletes of the Olympics, probably the most competitive of all sporting events, work diligently in retraining their self-talk, being something that is critical to being something that is positive. So in this article, a sports psychologist whose name I'm not even going to try to pronounce, right? Anybody want to take a stab at it? Okay, yeah. He said, the mind guides action. If we succeed in regulating our thoughts, then this will help our behavior. And you notice that's a monkey mind. I choose these pictures very deliberately for you. So in our teaching, one of the things that we do, in addition to meditation, is that we use affirmations. We use positive statements of truth. They're short, little, succinct little sentences that we can remember, that when we repeat them often enough, what they do is they help to reprogram that old self-talk into something more positive. And so, like meditation, using affirmations with consistency can turn that obnoxious roommate into a trusted friend. So the next one, set smarter goals. Now, I don't want this to be a talk about goal setting. That isn't my wheelhouse. There are plenty of courses and books and tapes and YouTube videos and coaches and everything else that can teach you how to set goals and achieve your goals. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. The only thing that I want to say that might be a little bit different than what you might be hearing in some of these other goal-setting things is to understand that whatever our goal is, we are being supported. We are being held up figuratively by a limitless energy that is here for us. And its desire is for us to succeed. Its desire is for us to express and live life to the fullest. Ernest Holmes put it this way: we are surrounded by a spirit of living intelligence, of eternal givingness, love, goodness, and power that wishes to express itself through us. This is a divine urge within, ever pushing us forward toward the goal of greater expression. Everybody take a breath. Because it brings us to our final Olympic mind hack for today. And that is go with the flow. Yay! That is my wheelhouse. I love talking about being and living in the flow. All kinds of interpretations about what it means to live in the flow. Spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. But that article that I found very valuable had this to say. Getting in the flow, also described as being in the zone, is a mental state in which the individual transcends conscious thought and achieves a heightened state of effortless and unwavering concentration, calm, and confidence. Breathe that in. Transcends conscious thought and achieves a heightened sense of confidence. That doesn't make you want to just like, in fact, the article goes on to say, the flow state is like a moving meditation. Action and awareness merge when we become totally absorbed in what we are doing. We have all the skills necessary and are able to stretch our abilities to meet the challenge, meet the challenge while focusing attention on the task at hand. Time seems to fly. It can also feel as if there is no time. Have you been there? Do you know what I'm talking about? So I had the opportunity the other night to watch the men's skating. And this was the gold medal winner. His name is Yuzuru Yuzuru Hanyu. Anybody watch that? Anybody watch him? Talk about being in the flow. There were all the skaters were great, and they all looked great in their costumes. But this guy, look at the look on his face. Look at the look on his face. His skating was transcendent. Not only for him, but for those who were watching it. That entire stadium, people were just in awe watching him. I found myself being in the flow, watching him be in the flow. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. My mouth kind of agape. I followed every move. I gasped at every jump, not from a nervous way, but into just like, time stood still for me as I watched him. So I want you to think about this in your own life. Everything else is theory until we can apply it to our own life, right? I'm willing to bet that everyone here has had an experience of being in the flow with whatever it is that you're doing where it seemed effortless. All cylinders were firing. You simply, time disappeared. Everything was just, whether it's working on a project or playing with your kids or playing music or listening to music or exercising, whatever. In fact, I want some audience participation here. Call out what you do when you feel in the flow. What are some of the things you do? Paint. Face
paint.
Pardon me?
Face paint.
Face paint, of course. Hiking. Dancing. Yoga. Bike riding. Boy, you guys are a physical bunch. Baking. Cooking. Skiing. Dancing. Yes, when you're just in the flow. Now, I want to be very clear here that being in the flow is not the same thing as zoning out. Being in the flow, in the zone, does not mean zoning out. We've all experienced zoning out, right? I do it in front of the computer a lot, more than I care to admit. And one of the differences is zoning out is passive. Watching TV, whereas being in the flow is active. Listen to everything that people were talking about when they're in the flow. It is active, it's focused, it's moving life forward. Being in the flow is moving life forward. And here's what happens for me when I am in the flow. Happens for me almost every Sunday morning, by the way. Certainly happens when I'm teaching. That I am so thoroughly melded with my higher self, with God, with the universe, with the life force. I am so thoroughly attuned to it that there's no separation. There's no separation between me and it. I am one with that which I am. And this is our natural state, folks. Being at one with, being lined up, aligned with, is our natural state of being, regardless of the circumstances of our lives, regardless of whether we feel as if we are disconnected. The truth is we are never disconnected. We are never disconnected. We just sometimes forget what we know. Are you with me? Yes. So it is up to us to continually remind ourselves of that truth. To use the tools that we have at our disposal. Spiritual mind treatment, seeing a practitioner, doing affirmations, reading, studying, doing the things that we know so that we consciously remember who we are. Because each one of us is here to allow Spirit to know itself more fully through us. Whether we're just a bunch of Joes in Calgary, or whether we're standing on a podium in Korea in the Olympic Games. Each one of us is worthy of going for gold. Every one of us. It's simply by being the very best version of ourselves that we can be. You're all Olympians. I should have brought you all gold medals. Just imagine that. I love you, and so it is. So are you guys ready to make some music? So Sonia had already, can I tell the story? Sonia had already chosen the second song. And I told her what my talk was going to be about. And just 2 days ago or something, she said, I would love to change it to this particular song. If you'd like to listen to it, here's the link to it. And I listened to it and I wrote her right back and I said, absolutely, it's perfect, it fits perfectly, and she wrote it. So please welcome Sonia.